I was supposed to be the bride. The one in the white dress. The one walking down the aisle. The one he looked at like the world stopped spinning just for me. I sat in the back row. Alone. Forgotten. Watching another woman, my own cousin, take every part of the life I'd spent years building. It wasn't a nightmare. It wasn't a movie. It was real. And it was happening right in front of my face. People whispered. Eyes glanced back at me with confusion, some with pity. A few just looked annoyed, as if I was the one ruining the fairy tale moment. As if I wasn't the one who'd been stabbed in the back. My hands trembled in my lap. My dress, a soft champagne gold I had picked out for our engagement photos, suddenly felt like a cruel joke. My breath caught as the music swelled and he turned, smiling like a man in love. But he wasn't smiling at me. He was smiling at her. Tiana, my cousin. My best friend since childhood. The girl who used to braid my hair and share secrets under the covers. The one who told me she was happy for me. Who toasted to our engagement with fake tears in her eyes and champagne on her lips. And now she was the one walking down the aisle, wearing the dress I helped her pick for her future wedding, never knowing it would be mine she was stealing. He used to call me his angel. Said I saved him from his worst self. That he never believed in love until me. But now there he was. Standing at the altar. Hands clasped in front of him. Waiting for my cousin to become his wife. No one had told me. No warnings. No explanations. Just silence. The invitations had been sent behind my back. The photos on Instagram had been posted minutes before the ceremony, like they were daring the world to watch. I had found out only because my mother called me, sobbing, asking if the rumors were true. And when I checked my phone, there was their names, their smiling faces, the date, the location, the wedding hashtag. It was real. I could have screamed. I could have rushed to the front and thrown over chairs, demanded answers, broken the illusion they were trying so desperately to paint. But I didn't. Because something inside me cracked open that day. Not the kind of break that shatters you permanently. The kind that lets something else grow. I realized sitting there that I had been too trusting. Too loyal. Too blind. They thought they had won. But I wasn't finished. Not even close. They stole my place at the wedding. But I was about to take back everything they built from my pain. And they wouldn't see it coming. The wedding ended and I didn't stay long enough to hear the vows. I couldn't. Every word out of their mouths would have felt like glass in my ears. Lies wrapped in lace and diamonds. I walked out before the kiss, before the applause, before anyone could ask me why I came. The air outside hit me like a slap. I remember standing on the sidewalk, heels wobbling, heart cracking, the sound of distant violins echoing through the chapel doors. I didn't cry. Not yet. My body was frozen. My mind wouldn't even let me process what had happened. I sat in my car for 2 hours. Just staring. At nothing. I thought about every moment that led to this. Every time he told me he loved me. Every night I stayed up helping him build his business, writing his proposals, supporting his dreams. Every moment I forgave his silence, his busy nights, his constant excuses. I thought about the night Tiana asked me to help her pick out dresses for someday. How she modeled that white dress in front of the mirror, twirling, laughing, pretending to be a bride. She asked me if I thought she looked beautiful. I told her she looked stunning. I had no idea she was preparing to steal my life. I thought about the ring I wore for 2 years. The one he said reminded him of how far we'd come. And then I thought about how far I had fallen. The text stopped weeks ago. The I love yous grew colder. I had felt something shift but couldn't put a name to it. I just blamed work stress, distance, the usual lies we feed ourselves to sleep at night. But now I knew. Now I saw it. They were planning this for months. And everyone knew except me. Even my aunt smiled at the wedding photos on social media. Even my old friends commented with heart emojis and, "You two are perfect." They knew. They knew. And they let me walk around like I was still the bride-to-be. That night when I finally drove home, I walked into the apartment we used to share. His things were gone. No warning, no note, just an empty closet and a silence that screamed through the walls. I looked around and realized everything he left behind was mine. The photos. The furniture. the shelf I put up, the dreams I painted into this space. He had walked out of the life we built like it meant nothing. And somehow I was still standing. I didn't sleep that night. I couldn't. I sat on the floor of the living room and stared at the wall for hours. And then I picked up my phone. Not to text him. Not to cry to anyone. I opened a blank note and typed 5 words. I will not stay broken. And just like that, something inside me shifted. The woman who got left behind. She was gone. The one who was rising. She was about to become everything they never saw coming. I didn't post a single thing on social media after the wedding. No sad quotes. No indirect messages. No stories. I vanished. I stopped answering calls from anyone who used to be our friend. If they couldn't tell me what was happening behind my back, they didn't deserve a seat at my table anymore. I quit my job 2 weeks later. The one I had taken so I could be closer to his office. I packed up everything I owned throughout the memories that hurt and left the city without a word. No goodbye letters. No dramatic exits. I just left. Because healing doesn't always look like revenge. Sometimes it looks like silence. Like rest. Like disappearing from the world so you can finally hear yourself think again. I rented a tiny studio apartment 4 towns away. It was nothing fancy. A mattress on the floor. A chipped desk. A single window that faced a brick wall. But it was mine. And no one knew where I was. I started over from zero. Emotionally. Financially. Spiritually. Cried hard for days. But eventually the tears stopped. And in their place came focus. I spent the next 6 months working 2 jobs. Waitressing during the day and copywriting at night. It was exhausting, yes. But it gave me something I hadn't felt in a long time. Purpose. Every dollar I made was mine. Every step forward, no matter how small, felt like a victory. I started reading again. Writing. Journaling every night even when my hands ached. I poured everything into those pages. Every betrayal, every scream I never let out, every dream I still refused to let go of. Then one night I wrote something that stopped me cold. It said, "You already survived the worst. Now build the best." And that's exactly what I set out to do. I took online courses on branding and digital marketing, skills I once used to help him build his company. But this time I was building something for myself. By month 7 I launched a small business from my bedroom. Custom content, copywriting, brand storytelling. Something I was always good at but never thought I could do on my own. Within 3 months it blew up. Clients came. Word spread. My work started appearing on websites I used to admire from afar. I even landed a retainer deal that paid more in 1 month than my old salary ever did. And the best part? No one knew it was me. No photos. No personal name. Just a brand and a ghost behind the screen. I was invisible, but unstoppable. And it was in that quiet success, in the silence of building a life no one could take from me again, that I found peace. They had erased me, but I had rebuilt myself. And I wasn't done yet. Because while I was gone, I was also watching. And what I saw told me the karma they thought would never catch up was already knocking on their door. It had been almost a year since the wedding when I finally saw them again. Not in person. Not yet. It started with a headline. Tiana Blake accused of fraud in husband's startup scandal. I stared at my phone frozen. Her photo was splashed across every local gossip site. Tears in her eyes, sunglasses crooked on her face, walking out of court behind him. He looked different. Older. Tired. No wedding ring. I couldn't help it, I laughed. Not because I wanted them to suffer. But because it felt like the universe had heard me whispering in the dark all those nights and finally decided to answer. I clicked through the articles. Apparently, the company we had once dreamed up together, the one I helped him build from scratch, had crumbled. Investor fraud. Mismanaged funds. Employee lawsuits. Turns out he wasn't the genius he thought he was. Without me behind the scenes, the empire fell. Tiana had stepped in as his creative partner, a role I once held quietly while he took all the credit. She didn't know the business. She didn't understand the systems. He just wanted the spotlight. And it cost them everything. The press was brutal. Their social media comments were filled with people calling them scammers. Fake. She tried to make a statement, something about being misled and not knowing, but it was too late. The damage was done. I didn't say a word. I didn't comment, didn't share, didn't even celebrate. Because my revenge didn't need to be loud. It was already written into the cracks of their perfect life. While they were busy stealing what I had, I was building what they never could. My business had grown bigger than I imagined. I had hired a small team. I moved into a new apartment, sunlight pouring in through wide windows, a balcony filled with books and peace. One of my new clients was a women's empowerment nonprofit. They asked me to speak at a local event about resilience, branding, and starting over. At first I hesitated, but then I said yes. I stood on that stage in a crisp white blazer, holding a microphone in front of 100 women who had no idea what I'd survived. And I told my story, not all the ugly details, just enough to let them see. You can lose everything and still rebuild. You can be betrayed and still rise. You can be erased and still rewrite your name. After the talk, someone came up to me and asked if I ever regretted what happened. I paused. No, I said. Because it broke me into someone stronger. That night I got a DM. From him. I saw your talk. You were incredible. I'm sorry for everything. I stared at the message. My hands didn't shake this time. Then another one followed. From her. No one was ever supposed to get hurt. I miss you. I wish things had been different. I read those messages once. And then I deleted them both. Because their guilt didn't move me anymore. Their regret wasn't my responsibility. They had taken my place at the wedding. But I took back my future. And trust me, what I built was far more beautiful than anything they could ever steal. After their messages, I expected something in me to feel vindicated. Or even tempted. A part of me thought I might still want answers. Maybe a real apology. Maybe closure. But as I sat alone on my balcony that night, wrapped in a soft sweater, tea cooling in my hand, I realized something. I didn't need it anymore. Not the apology. Not the explanation. Not even the justice. Because they had already lost what mattered most. Me. The girl they discarded had become the woman they could never touch again. The one they underestimated was now standing tall, rooted, grounded, untouchable. I wasn't haunted by what happened anymore. I didn't replay the betrayal in my head like I used to. I didn't check their profiles or wonder if they were happy. I didn't care. Because I finally understood that moving on doesn't mean pretending it didn't happen. It means refusing to let it define you. They had stolen a day. But I had claimed a lifetime. It was in the little things. The freedom in waking up without dread, the joy in working for myself, the peace in choosing who got access to me, that I found power. I surrounded myself with people who poured into me. Who showed up without conditions. Who celebrated not just my wins but my healing. And slowly I stopped being the girl who was betrayed. I became the woman who rebuilt. One night, almost exactly a year to the day of their wedding, I got a call from a friend who used to be in both of our lives. Did you hear? She said. They split. He left. Tiana's been laying low, trying to save what's left of her name. I didn't react. Didn't smile. Didn't celebrate. I just nodded and said, I wish them peace. And I meant it. Because the truth is, revenge doesn't always look like a grand explosion. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like joy. Sometimes it looks like building a life so solid, so radiant, that the people who tried to destroy you can't even reach your shadow. And in that moment, sitting in my own apartment surrounded by the life I built, I realized I had everything they tried to take. And none of the poison they left behind. I used to think the wedding was the end of everything. The end of love. The end of trust. The end of the girl I used to be. But now I know. That betrayal was just the beginning. It broke me. Yes. But it also cleared the path for the woman I was always meant to become. I learned that peace is louder than revenge. That healing is stronger than hate. And that when someone steals your place, you don't fight to get it back. You rise and create a life so powerful, it makes theirs look small in comparison. I never saw justice in a courtroom. Never got the apology written in blood. Never even looked back at what they became. Because I didn't need to. My life became the answer. My success was the response. My joy That was the loudest revenge of all. So when people say, she took your place at the wedding, I just smile. Because I took something bigger in return. My life. And I'm never giving it back. If you've ever been betrayed, replaced, overlooked, if someone took something from you and thought you'd never rise again, let this be your sign. You are not done. You're just getting started. Tell me in the comments, what's something you're reclaiming today? And if this story touched your heart even a little, hit that like button, subscribe for more stories like this, and share it with someone who needs to hear they're not alone. Because revenge isn't always loud. Sometimes, it's healing in public and thriving in silence.